What is up? Welcome in to the Red Shirts Fantasy Football Podcast. Fellas, I am so excited for this show. It's just another Tuesday night. I don't really know if there's anything special going on this evening. Just kidding. We have John's birthday bash on the show tonight. Hopefully you're watching live either on YouTube or on Periscope and Twitter. Man, I don't know who plans these shows, but whoever does it is just the best. Like, you know, maybe you could say he's the Betz. On the show. He said, you know what? It's John's birthday. He loves running backs. Let's talk top 12 running back rankings on tonight's show. Fellas, how we doing? John, happy birthday. How are you doing, my man?
Thank you. I'm 30, which is a new milestone. It's a brave new world. There's more and more white hairs in my beard every day. But I'm doing well. I mean, things have been, pretty cray around here lately, getting through. So we haven't really informed the listeners or our Patreon subscribers or anything like that. My ex-wife tested positive for coronavirus. And we've got two small kids. So I get a phone call at 4:40 in the morning from her, I have a fever of 102 and I'm really scared. Can you get the kids? And that was last Wednesday. So almost a full week now. And I decided to go get them bright and early at 5:30 in the morning. And we're just quarantining here in a small little apartment and making the most of it. But birthday's been good. I baked a cake with my kids and had some fun. So it was good. Now they're asleep and I'm here partying with you fools and drinking some scotchy. So things are good.
Love it. Scotchy. Scotch. I love scotch.
Scotch. Big.
Okada, what's going on with you, man?
Basically the complete opposite of that, in that nothing interesting is going on. I am just continuing to work from home and then podcast, and that's about it.
Hey, things could be worse. You could have two worse co-hosts. I mean, let's be honest. I'm super excited for tonight's show, guys. It's going to be fantastic. We're talking about our top 12 running back rankings, and we also have a major announcement on the show tonight. We have been hyping it up on the show, on our social media platforms at RedShirtsFF Pod, saying if you wanted to assign Davante Adams jersey, here's how you get into the contest. We are announcing that live tonight on the show. Fellas, should we do it now, or do you want to wait till midway through the show? Also, yes, shout out to Nate Davante Adams, the man.
I think we should do it now. I think it's the most important part of this podcast. Who needs to hear about running backs?
Yeah, I mean, hey, if I was listening to the show personally, I would probably just go, you know what? Yeah, I either want it or this is awesome. I'm going to keep listening, or no, I didn't win. So see you guys later.
We all know that's the reason Nate's here. Oh, and then he drops it in the comments. Yeah, he's totally just here for the jersey. That's 100% why Nate's here.
So does that mean we should see it for the end, so they have to suffer through the whole podcast first?
Oh, that's a good call. I think we should.
Ooh.
I don't know.
We'll do it now. We'll do it now.
All right.
We'll lose it if we don't.
All right, boys. We had over 500 total entries. Now, there was tiered entries, basically. If you are a Patreon subscriber, you get 10 entries. If you were a YouTube subscriber, I think you got 3. And then it was 5 for a rating and review on your podcast app. So these tiered entries, you could get a ton of entries into this. And I'm happy it went to one of our Patreon subscribers because he's a good dude. Obviously, he had the most entries being a Patreon subscriber. Shout out to Brandon Shoemaker, good friend of the show. You are the winner of the signed Davante Adams jersey. Hit us up in Slack. Feel free to let us know how you want to get that jersey. Send us your address. We'll get that to you. I'm very sad to see it go because it is beautiful. And it is gone as of now. Boys, we got to do another one. We got to do another giveaway here soon.
Ooh, true.
And we'll figure out a new way to get in the entry to that contest. So super excited about that. And really happy to give that to Brandon. Good dude. Thank you for supporting the show. Brandon.
Hey, if you're a listener and you want a jersey, tweet at us at the Red Shirts account. Let us know what jerseys you guys want. And then maybe that'll give us some inspiration for the next jersey.
For sure.
I like that idea a lot.
We could also go the college route too. I mean, if you guys are really super into the
Jonathan Taylor, Wisconsin.
Jonathan Taylor.
We know that's what you want, John. You are not eligible to win. Okay.
I might just go out and buy one of those myself and just put it right next to my flag. But yeah, just let us know what's good. We'll go out there and see what's available.
Love it. Yeah. Also, by the way, John, if we did that contest and you won, or if you were in the entry to decide which one we got, I don't know that we could actually do that because I think you would make us pay way too much money out of budget to actually get said jersey. So yeah, anyone but JT and I'm in.
That's probably
all right, fellas. Let's get into a quick news update and then we will get right into running back rankings.
I got great news, guys. Oh, hey, news.
All right, guys, we can be pretty quick with this. Dak Prescott officially signs his franchise tender. He will be there. He will play this season. I don't think any of us really were worried about that. We've been talking about Dak quite a bit as maybe a tier 1 quarterback this year. We talked about it on our second to last show, talking about our top 12 quarterback rankings. So check that out if you missed it. Fellas, any real news to break down here or just kind of passing on the news and we can get to the next piece?
No.
More of the same. They're still at a standstill. They still have, I think it's another month roughly to hammer out an extension. But they can get it done, but I don't know. Is this going the Kirk Cousins way? Are we just going to see him get tagged back-to-back seasons and then go somewhere else? I don't know. What's taking so long? We've been talking about
his price tag
for a year.
Supposedly. If
yeah,
he wants
I get
as
it.
much as you said.
He wants 4 years instead of 5. They want to lock him up and make it more efficient, so to speak, from a year-to-year standpoint. He wants the money, and I can't blame him. The dude's a winner, and he's done fantastic things for the franchise so far. So, yeah, he deserves it. All right, fellas, next piece of news here, and it's not even news. Again, it's June. There's no OTAs. We need something in our lives that is football-related anyway.
Ooh.
The Seahawks and the Ravens have had, quote, internal discussions about signing free agent Antonio Brown. I'm going to kick it right over to birthday boy here. He's got the Seahawks hat on. John, is this a thing? Do we think this is possible? What do you think?
You are before you answer, you are limited to 30 seconds. No 6 minutes Seahawks
30?
Yeah.
30?
Yes.
Okay, wait. I'm gonna watch the timer.
This is the news section, not the main subject of the show.
It's his birthday. Give him 40. Come on.
Mm-hmm. All right, 40 seconds starting.
All right, I can
in
respect
the next, 3, 2, 1. Okay. First and foremost, I think there's a little bit of merit to this because Russell Wilson has been fairly vocal over the last 6 months or so about wanting them to kick the tires on Antonio Brown. He's said it, and he's the dude. They just paid him a boatload of money. He's there. He's in charge. If he really wants AB and if he's really lobbying for him hard behind closed doors, it's entirely possible that they take the chance on him. I don't understand it necessarily. I get that you need depth, but get someone that's less of an alpha type player to be a depth piece because you have DK Metcalf, you have Tyler Lockett. I'm sorry, this is going to a minute. It doesn't make any sense because they generally run a 2 wide receiver set most of the time. So I don't really understand where AB actually fits. I just know that Russell Wilson wants to play with him. And if Russell Wilson wants it, there's a good chance they do. I think the one that loses out in that scenario the most might be Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And the one part I would disagree with, I think, is that any team could use Antonio Brown. Literally, the Buccaneers with one of the 2 best wide receiver duos ever could use Antonio Brown. So I think if Ravens is a better fit because they don't have diddly squat except for his cousin, which makes it make even more sense. That would be very interesting to see. I would put money towards that versus Seahawks if I had to choose.
Same.
The question, Betz, is if he goes to either of these teams, is he draft worthy? And the answer is yes.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean,
how high?
The dude is off his rocker, but if he lands, if he lands with the Ravens, dude, he's only competing with Marquise Brown and of course Mark Andrews. But the wide receiver depth chart is not scary. It's Willie Snead. It's second-year player Miles Boykin.
Not
he's
scary
going to step into an immediate role. If he landed with the Ravens, as of today, I would say maybe 3rd or 4th round, I would go in on Antonio Brown. But
that sounds about right.
No higher than that. And I think that factors in some of the risk. With the Seahawks, I don't know. I just don't
I wouldn't want it.
I just don't see it happening.
I don't know. I don't really know why he would want to go there. One, if he wants to go anywhere, well, to play with Russ, but you could also play with Lamar. in your old division and stick it to the Steelers twice per year.
Yeah, that one makes the most sense.
It makes the most sense. Like with this being AB that we're talking about, that revenge tour, like that's
here for it.
Like that's part of the reason why I'm sure that conversation is taking place. Just so we can go out there and torch their secondary, which is not good.
Not good.
Not good.
As Okada likes to say. All right, boys, let's get into our top 12 running back rankings. This is the cream of the crop. This is who you want to target early in your draft. We're going to discuss kind of where we have these guys in our ranks and then kind of debate who's too high, who's too low, what's the upside, what's the downside, all that good stuff. Fellas, I'm so happy that we are the ones bringing this to the fantasy community. This is groundbreaking analysis. Christian McCaffrey is our one top-ranked running back, in our ranks. I don't know what there is to say about the dude. Yeah, shocking. It's just hot takes.
This is brand new information.
He is the offense. The defense is going to be terrible. Teddy Bridgewater is going to target him at an obscene rate. We saw what Clyde Edwards-Helaire did with Joe Brady at LSU last year. We've seen what Alvin Kamara has done with Joe Brady in New Orleans. I mean, Christian McCaffrey might top his receiving production from last year. That's legitimately what I feel for him this year. Obvious one. I can't really think of a scenario where you don't take him as the top running back. Can you guys see a scenario where maybe you don't?
Especially in any form of PPR, no, not a chance.
And like the guys who would challenge him are also PPR studs, like Saquon Barkley. So that doesn't help at all. Like if this was the Zeke heyday, maybe, and we thought he was going to have a chance at 2,000 rushing yards or something disgusting like that, maybe in a standard league he comes into the conversation, but that's not the case. There's no one close. He had 2,400 scrimmage yards last year, guys. Do you understand? That is so many yards.
I do not understand how that
I don't either. And by the way, as a note, if you listen to this podcast for any number of episodes,
bad offense, like terrible quarterback play,
you will hear me preach about regression and that every player who sets a record is going to regress. I don't really know if Christian McCaffrey is going to regress. He's going into his fourth season. He's 24 years old, barely. There is nothing. There's no reason to expect him to go backwards at all.
He got that bag too. He got that bag a couple months ago. Also, he's their offense. Like Christian McCaffrey will probably be a wide receiver one.
Yes,
like his wide receiver numbers would be wide receiver one territory. Like Lamar Jackson
catches, 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns receiving last year,
and those touchdowns are going to go up. Like there's no way the amount of targets that he sees and the yardage that he got to only get 4 receiving touchdowns out of that is kind of shocking. Like I wouldn't be surprised at all if he has 6 to 8 receiving touchdowns. Receiving. Christian McCaffrey, a running back. Like Lamar Jackson is a running back one at the quarterback position. Christian McCaffrey is a wide receiver one at the running back position. Oh, and he's also a running back one in his rushing stats. Like in his running stats. Like
he good.
He good. He's good for fantasy football. He's the 1.01. It's easy. Move on.
I think we can end the conversation there. Perfect. Fellas, number 2 in the consensus ranks, it is Mr. Saquon Barkley. Now, I think you could argue he is a better overall runner of the football than some guys on this list. He's obviously dynamic. He's obviously a huge weapon in the passing game. But the only pause I have with Saquon, and it really isn't even pause, it's just kind of a knock on him, if you even want to say that, is just we're not seeing the targets that we saw with Eli Manning at quarterback. Now you have Daniel Jones, who's obviously a little bit more mobile. He's got his playmakers back in the offense, which he did not have last year. Talking about guys like Golden Tate, who was suspended, Sterling Shepard, who was injured, Evan Ingram, who was injured. So that's really why I have him at 2 versus 1. Totally fine if someone wants to just diversify their rankings, or if they want to maybe take Saquon in one draft and Christian McCaffrey in another if they have the 1.01, that's fine. Locked in at 2 for me. Dude's a stud. I'm in.
Saquon Barkley, in my opinion, is the most talented running back in the NFL as a runner. I know Okada wants you. No, he's not. It's Dalvin Cook. It's Saquon Barkley.
I wouldn't say Cook is. No, it's close.
It's close. It is close. Dalvin Cook is an incredibly talented runner as well. But for me, Saquon is the best pure runner in the NFL. I hear a lot of people that are knocking like the offense that he's in as being part of the reason why maybe he doesn't have the ceiling. I mean, he's still going as the running back too. Like no one's really. I haven't seen anyone bump him out of that spot yet. Like to me, he's been the RB2 everywhere that I've looked. But people are like, well, the offense is terrible and there's not a whole lot of weapons, and it's just like, guys, like you're saying all the same stuff that people were saying about Christian McCaffrey with his like terrible quarterback play, but he was just like an all-timer last season. So to me, Saquon has an incredibly high ceiling. I think he's coming for that rushing title this year if he stays fully healthy. And Saquon's just a stud. He's that dude. I love him.
Yeah,
I mean, too. I was going to say, it's just the other thing too that's different about him versus the other backs is that he can hit the home run on any given play, right? Like 50 yards out, the dude can house it. 70 yards out, the dude can house it. Like it's going to happen at some point throughout the season. And I'm just going to keep talking so that John can't get anything in here because he's doing hand signals on the screen. No, I'm just kidding. What's up, John?
Did y'all coordinate your outfits? What happened? I didn't even realize.
Actually,
and I just looked up and I was like, black tank top season. Okay.
For the listeners, we're both wearing black tank tops. We're also both wearing backwards snapbacks. But interestingly enough, John, before you came on, I was discussing going and finding a white tank top so that we would be backwards colored. Yes, yin yang. But I couldn't find a clean one because I don't do laundry anymore because I work in my underwear all day.
Why does it have to be clean? It's literally just the chest up.
It's true.
Are you splattering mustard on the shoulder straps?
I mean, probably.
I'm really concerned.
I'm living in my own filth at this point.
They said move to Vermont. It's going to be beautiful in the summer. It has been 90 degrees for 6 straight days and not a drop of rain. I do not have air conditioning. It is so hot. And spoiler alert, I'm not wearing pants. So that's where I'm at these days, boys. It is so freaking hot. Anyway, let's move on to
happy birthday, John. I'm not wearing pants. All right. Good talk,
I didn't wear
buddy.
pants to your birthday party. There you go.
Third
running back in our ranks here, Ezekiel Elliott. Guys, he's as safe as they come. He is fantastic. But we have an offensive coordinator here who has been known in the past to maybe forget about the run game a bit in Mike McCarthy. There's a reason people were saying free Aaron Jones for 2 years. I don't know that happens because Zeke is clearly another level of player, and it's the best, I think, maybe the best offense in the NFC, potentially. It's certainly debatable. They put up the most yards last year. What is there to say? Third, I would take him. Second, if you really felt strongly, I would feel totally fine with that. He's locked in there at 3 for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a couple things here. One is, to your point, McCarthy never had anything close to Ezekiel Elliott. He had Eddie Lacy for a bit there, which was, he was Eddie. I miss him, honestly. I wish he had not disappeared. But and then he had a bit of the mix of the Jones and Williams situation. But
ASAP Mo, what up, dude?
I saw, dude. None of those guys were Ezekiel Elliott, so I expect that to change the temperature a bit in the room. But additionally, Kellen Moore is still there. He was the offensive coordinator last year, which was when Zeke finally blew up in the receiving game, by the way. Had 54 catches for 420 yards. And I don't expect Mike McCarthy to come in and say, hey, Kellen, the offense that you ran last year that led the league in yards and turned Dak into a superstar, we're changing it up completely, and we're going to go over to the Packers system from the days of old. Sorry. I don't really expect that to happen. So both those things combined give me little to no concern. Zeke is a locked-in top-tier running back. He's up there with Saquon, in my opinion. I think they're almost interchangeable.
I like it.
Yeah,
number 4.
I'm with it.
Yeah, number 4 on our list, guys, I think is going to be a little bit more of an interesting conversation. It's Alvin Kamara, and he's number 4 for all of us. So we agree that he's here at 4 for us.
That's interesting.
I've been playing around
I thought
with
that
the
there would
idea
be some variance there. That's interesting.
I've been playing around with the idea of moving him up in my ranks. Like, I think we're going to see an explosion from Alvin Kamara this year.
Happen.
I mean, on pace for over 90 receptions last year, obviously limited by the MCL sprain and the high ankle injury. The dude isn't putting in work this offseason. He looks healthy in things that I've seen from a movement quality analysis. And, the dude is just locked in as a PPR asset. And if you're doing any non-PPR, I mean, first off, what are you doing? Second off, that matters so much for CMC, right? We talked about it. I think Alvin Kamara is going to push him for receptions this year because it's obviously Michael Thomas. Jared Cook doesn't really get a lot of targets. He gets touchdowns. And I'm not really sold Emmanuel Sanders is going to be that big of an impact on Alvin Kamara's receiving game work. So for me, he could potentially be this team's number 2 target in the receiving game. Great offense. Yeah, I'm rising on Alvin Kamara even more than I thought I would be at this point in the season.
From a targets and receptions perspective, it would not surprise me if he's a number 2 option. From a yards and touchdowns perspective, it would surprise me. Like, I think he'll get plenty of dump offs and hit 81 catches as he does every year. And that'll probably be more than Emmanuel Sanders. But Sanders, I think, is going to end up with more yards. Having said that, listen, everybody sees the first 3 we mentioned as their own tier, I think. Can we agree on that? And then now we're starting a new tier, more or less.
I think people probably have
general
CMC
consensus
by himself.
Sure. That's fair too. But those 3 are like the could be RB1's tier.
Like the RB1.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's probably consensus. I personally think Kamara belongs there.
I agree.
I think so too.
I think Kamara, and I'm going to keep saying it because that's how we say it on the NFL Network. So sorry, Betz. We're going to just say it differently. Well, no, one of him and his mother says it one way, one says the other way. So it doesn't really matter.
So the NFL Network is Kamara?
Yes.
The NFL okay.
Yes. We have to say Kamara. It was very hammered into us right in the beginning.
Then I will go that route. I trust.
Anyways, he is probably the low-key best chance at being the RB1 because we know he has a touchdown upside. He did it in his first 2 seasons. We know he has a receiving upside. He's done that every year with 81 catches every year. And he's one of the best pure looking runners with the football in his hands in the game. Like, it is nearly impossible to tackle Alvin Kamara. So I don't think I can get him higher, Betz, but to your point, like, I kind of want to. Like, I just wish I could rank him, Zeke, and Saquon almost as their own 2 A, B, and C situation.
I'm really surprised because I really thought that for you, Dalvin Cook was going to be 3 or 4. Like,
I can't because of the current situation. We'll get to that in a second. That will be broken down.
We'll get there. So for me, for Alvin Kamara, we've talked about it a couple times over the last few months. Alvin Kamara has had just a freak outlandish touchdown drought last season in the middle of the year. We had change in quarterback play. We had Alvin Kamara battling his own issues. He still had exactly 81 receptions, which he's done now his first 3 seasons in the NFL, which is so weird. I don't know how many of our listeners are baseball people. Chris Davis for the Oakland Athletics has hit exactly 247.
I've heard this stat too.
For like 3 or 4 seasons as well. So like you have Alvin Kamara and Chris Davis that both have that like weird anomaly in their stat line, and it's really cool. But to me, I think that this is the year that Alvin Kamara surpasses 100 catches.
Ooh,
I think that happens this year. It was really tough for me between he and Zeke because of that catching ability and the absolute positive regression that he's going to have in terms of the touchdown category. If Alvin Kamara finishes as the running back 2, I'm not going to be shocked. The running back 1 is within the realm of possibility for him if things don't go well for Christian McCaffrey. So he's an absolute bona fide stud. Excited to get him back there. They're like doing kind of the whole last dance thing with Drew Brees down there in New Orleans for one more season. And a healthy Drew Brees is really good for Alvin Kamara. So I think it's all systems go. This dude's a lock. He's a stud. And he's going right now at like the late first round. Like I've seen him fall between like the 108 and the 110 in drafts. And that's just easy money for me. Easy to take him right there.
Yeah, I mean, if that's happening, sign me up for whatever that league is because yes, please. Yeah, no, I think that he deserves top 5 consideration without a doubt in your draft, considering the wide receiver position as well. Real quick before we move on from Alvin Kamara, Okada, have you finished your projections for the Saints? John, I don't think you have yet.
I haven't yet.
Okay, I haven't projected for 93 receptions this year. So 100 is very close. And by the way, listeners, if you would like access to our full statistical projections, they're available soon in the month of July, probably on patreon.com/retrodspod is where to find those. All right, boys, on to running back 5 in the ranks. I've got him at 6. John has him at 6. Okada, you have him at 5. This is the King Henry, Derrick Henry himself. Man, what is there to say? I did an interview with Tron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation reporter for the Titans this past offseason, and I don't know how else there is to describe it because he did it perfectly. He literally said, man, this dude is a unicorn. He is just not like any other back in the NFL, and he's unreal. So, you know, it's a great offensive line. It's a system built around Derrick Henry. He's going to rush for, you know, over 300 carries. But I think the only knock that I have him as a mid-range RB1 is just, you know, we saw his season last year, and he finished as the RB7 in PPR. Like, if he doesn't catch the football, he's not getting in the top 5. So that's why I have him a little bit lower. I assume you guys are the same on that one.
Yeah, more or less. I would say that he is one of the highest rushing upsides, if not the highest rushing upside running backs in fantasy, and would have legitimate the RB1 potential if he started catching the ball. And for the record,
it doesn't even have to be a lot. Like, it doesn't. He doesn't even need a ton.
30 catches would be fine.
30 to 40. Just give him that.
I will say, his targets have gone up each season of his career. 15, 17, 18, 24.
Upward trend.
Oh, shoot. Here's what I will say about the situation.
Projecting for 25 targets. Lock it in.
Throwing the ball to Derrick Henry has shown proven success.
It has.
Yes.
It works. You throw him a screen, and no person out there on the outside can tackle him. It is clear and obvious football 101. So I still don't understand why they don't do it more often. Maybe they will figure it out this year, and he'll finally get those extra targets. I'm not sure. But I don't think he can be any worse than he was from a target perspective, and he was still the RB7. So I think that he could be anywhere between 5 and 7-ish, and this is perfectly fine.
To me, Derrick Henry is like the Russell Wilson of the quarterbacks. Like, you know, he's going to slot in like right there in the middle, but because of one reason or another for either one of them, like they're not going to hit that like very, very top end of the production. For Russell Wilson, it's the system and not having the volume. For Derrick Henry, it's just not being a factor in the passing game. And if you're in a PPR league, he's not going to ever be, in my opinion, a top 3 running back in a PPR setting because he just doesn't have the catching upside. He could very well win the rushing crown again, back-to-back years. Could absolutely happen this year. For sure. He could have 1,500 yards. Easy. But he's going to have like 14 catches for 28 yards on top of that. And it's going to be just absolutely infuriating. So, yeah, I love Derrick Henry. Watching him run, watching that old school downhill ground and pound, we're going to throw the ball like 9 games for an entire game. Just like my running back soul loves it so much. Like, I'm like, thank you for doing something that the NFL is trying to tell people that doesn't win games. And then you go in and you knock off the Patriots and the Ravens in the playoffs with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. Like, I loved it so much. It was just, you know what's going to happen. They're going to line him up. He's going to turn around and hand it to Derrick Henry. He's going to bulldoze somebody, stiff arm Earl Thomas into oblivion deep downfield. Like, I love it so much. Get bodied. Like, watching him play is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, he's, in my opinion, always going to be like right there in that mid running back range. And by the way, if he can just start a season well,
nope.
Like, if he can
if
he could start a season as like at least a running back 2, that'd be great. Like, I would love that. But he just sucks in September for whatever reason. And go out and get him. Go out and trade for him like October 1st. Because the rest of the year he's going to just cook for you. It's fantastic. I love Derrick Henry.
Yeah. Derrick Henry would have been unstoppable in like 1997. Like old school, like, run the ball on first, second, and third down, maybe throw it once or twice here or there. Like,
imagine Derrick Henry with Pete Carroll.
School. Oh, it'd be fantastic.
He'd have 1,800 rushing yards.
every down. All right, boys. This is where I think the discussion gets interesting. Now, this player we are all high on, and it's interesting when you see the kind of consensus rankings come out. And by the way, if you want access to the rankings, John's are now live as well. Okada and mine went up on Monday. We now have the positional ranks up on the site. Our top 200 overall is for the Patreon crew only. Those are going up soon. But anyway, back to the running back ranks. Number 6, guys, we have Kenyon Drake. Now, he is 7 for Okada, 7 for John, 8 for me. But because of kind of how the other rankings work out, he comes in as 6 on the consensus ranks. Fellas, I'm going to kick it over to you guys first because I want to hear what you have to say about Kenyon Drake. I've got some thoughts and some stats to back it up. But I want to hear what are your thoughts on Kenyon Drake in 2020?
They're pretty good. They're pretty good thoughts, Betz.
Pretty epic thoughts.
Listen,
they're pretty good. All right.
Yeah.
Hashtag analysis. All right.
He got traded around week 8, started playing for the Cardinals in week 9. Over the remainder of the season, his full season pace was 1,286 rushing yards, 342 receiving yards on 56 catches, and 16 touchdowns.
Yeah,
that is top
yes,
3.
Please.
That is top 3 type numbers right there. From the smallish half a season sample size that we got with him on the Cardinals. That was a Cardinals offense that was not yet hitting on all cylinders, that had not fully unlocked Kyler Murray, that did not have DeAndre Hopkins on it, that had a first-year head coach. We've talked about what we like seeing in Kyler Murray going into this second season with Kingsbury. Almost all of that translates over to Kenyon Drake as well. I would not surprise me if he hit those exact same numbers over the course of this full season and is a top 3 running back.
Woo!
It's a little bit less safe because we don't have a long track record with him like we do with Zeke or Kamara-ish. I mean, we don't have too long of a track record with Kamara. But we saw it. We saw it on tape. We saw it in the stats. It was gorgeous and productive for fantasy, and I'm going to be drafting him everywhere.
Yes, please.
So,
love it.
Yes. Now, I will bring up just one thing. Like, if I have to throw a little bit of cold water somewhere, here's one of my concerns. I know. So, week 12 and 13 last year. Week 12 was against the Rams. Week 13 was against Pittsburgh. They were trailing basically the entire game in both of those games. In other games, we saw him have 15, 16, 22, up to 24 carries. Of course, his best game of the season came at Seattle. I was watching. It was painful as hell. 166 yards and 2 touchdowns. Are you kidding?
That's when he broke into the safe and stole all the money.
It was. Crank it open. It was ridiculous. Yep. But he had 2 games where they were trailing most of the game. His carry total in those games were 13 and 11. His yardage, 31 and 37. No touchdowns. He did get involved in the passing game, which made me happy. He had the 5 targets against the Rams and then 3 the next week. But his yardage output in back-to-back weeks was between like 50 and 60 total yards with no touchdowns in a bad game script. So if I'm going to throw cold water somewhere, I'm a little concerned about that because they kind of abandoned him and decided to put it into Kyler's hands when the game script was not in his favor. But I love what I saw. The other weeks, his usage was great. His ability to break long runs in that rushing scheme worked out really well for him. So I love Kenyon Drake. Obviously, I've got him ranked right here at 7, right below this spot. But I do have a little bit of pause about that negative game script kind of narrative for him. And I have a child that's awake, so give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's totally fair and would be a big concern depending on what you expect from the Cardinals this year. Because I expect an 8-8 plus team. I think they are going to be good. Not necessarily great. I don't think they're going to win the division. They're not going to be the 49ers necessarily for the division championship. But they were a 5-10 team last year and 2-6 in the time that Drake was there. They're going to be better than a 2-6 projected team in 2020, I believe. So even if we do expect to see him maybe drop out a little bit, which, by the way, is the case for most running backs in games that they are losing heavily, I'm a little less concerned if I'm projecting their team to be a little bit better.
Yep, I think that's fair. And the other thing too to just say about this backfield in general is I like Kenyon Drake's talent, but to be truthful with you guys, it doesn't matter. Like whoever is running the ball for this offense is who you want in fantasy. We saw Chase Edmonds come out from weeks 5 to 7. Here were his finishes: running back 13, running back 15, running back 1 with 34 fantasy points. So Kenyon Drake is obviously, I think, a better running back than Chase Edmonds, but I've said this before on the podcast. I truly believe it. If you leave your draft with Kenyon Drake, you need to leave your draft with Chase Edmonds because it doesn't matter who's back there. You plug them in, you're going to get top 15 production on most weeks. So I just want to put that out there. The other thing that I love about the Cardinals in general, ran league high 33% of the time, was the most 4 wide receiver sets. You have DeAndre Hopkins, you have Larry Fitzgerald, you have Christian Kirk, and whoever their 4 is. Can you guys even name the starting tight end right now without looking?
No.
Nope.
Doesn't matter. Max Williams, by the way, but it doesn't matter, right? They don't really use them. And those lanes, you just put 4 corners out on the field with the safeties. You can't stuff the box. He's going to have so many lanes to run through. So, yes, please, I'm in on Kenyon Drake this year. Obviously, you guys are as well. Fellas, this is a good stopping point to pause and have a word from our sponsor. This sponsor, guys, I feel like our listeners just need to get in there and get this product, man. It's so good. Okada and I and John have just kind of built, relationships with these people that we like to support good products. TrophySmack.com is the place for fantasy football trophies, draft boards, rings, belts, you name it, they have it, and it is the best in the industry. Here's what you do. TrophySmack.com. You go in there, you find a belt that you like, you find a trophy you like, you've got a draft coming up maybe in July or August, and you know what? You're a commissioner of 2 leagues. So what do? You're not going to buy 2 trophies, which you could do if you want, but you're going to add a championship ring to your cart. Enter code REDSHIRTS at checkout. You're going to get that ring for free with our code REDSHIRTS. Check that out. We will put the link in the YouTube description. Okada will put it in the podcast description as well for you guys. Check it out. Awesome products. We love Trophy Smack.
Do you guys have on your coast the mattress commercial guy who says, "Oh, your mattress is free"?
No, we do not.
Well, any Californians out there listening will understand that every time you say this about Trophy Smack, I think in my mind, your ring is free.
See, I always think of free 99 anytime that comes up. That's my go-to reference there. It really is great. I mean, and you can also just pretend that you won your league, which is awesome. So just keep that ring. Just be like, look, I won. I got 7 rings. Yeah, because you were bottom 4 for 7 years in a row. Congratulations.
We also, by the way, got a free ring from Trophy Smack last year to give away to the winner of the Listener League, which we'll probably do again this year. So stay tuned for that. All right, boys, on to running back 7. And, this is not accurate, I don't think, because Okada has Dalvin Cook way too low. But he said before we started recording, this will be way higher if he wasn't in the middle of a holdout. Okada, over to you, man.
Yeah, listen, let's be clear. You guys are doing it wrong, and I'm doing it right. Let me explain why. Right now, these rankings are useful for people who are drafting and redraft. And if they're drafting and redraft right now, they should not be drafting Dalvin Cook as the 5th running back off the board. Why? Because there's too much risk there. There's a good chance of him holding out.
He's coming back. Not.
He needs wrong. To accrue that season. He has to be there.
I'm not saying he's not going to. I believe he is going to. But there is still a risk that he misses a few games.
Percentage. What do you say?
He's going to accrue the season without missing or with missing a few games. Several.
Percentage chance for you that he misses any games.
Any. 15%.
15% is enough for you to drop him down 3 or 4 rankings?
Because right now, if you're drafting, you're not drafting Dalvin Cook in the 2nd round like you would otherwise. It's too much of a risk. However, let's put all that aside.
I would absolutely take him in the 2nd.
Well, that's great. Okay, you know what that is? That's the philosophy all the Le'Veon Bell owners had 2 years ago. Look how that. Yes, it is.
No.
What are you talking about? It's the exact same thing.
You and I were screaming from what was it saying? Screaming from the mountaintops
Yes.
that Le'Veon Bell was not going to be good in the year he came back from the holdout.
I'm talking about the year that people thought he was not going to hold out, and
Oh,
then
in
he
Pittsburgh.
did. Yes.
I see. Okay, I see. What
Everybody drafted him. No, he'll be back. 2 weeks into the season. No, he'll be back. He has to accrue the season. 7 weeks into the season. Oh, wait, he's not going to accrue the season. He's going to actually hold out, or we screwed ourselves in the second round. That's what happened with Le'Veon Bell. Until we know that's not going to happen with Dalvin Cook, you have to adjust your rankings.
And guess what Cook learned from that situation? Is
that you can get paid by the Jets the next year. $50 million. No. What do you mean?
The amount of money that he lost from the season that he didn't play, he didn't make it up by getting the contract the next year. It was terrible advice. It was terrible advice for Bell. Yes. It was terrible advice for Gordon.
But he did go get the contract. As did Gordon.
That's like... Oh my gosh, that's like walking away with a participation trophy.
And again, you don't have to hold out. Even if he doesn't hold out the whole year,
I got a shiny little toy.
He could pull a Melvin Gordon, and you were not happy drafting Melvin Gordon in the second round either. And Melvin Gordon got his season and his next contract, and got his paycheck for most of the year.
I think we can agree.
None of this is really important.
This would not be the ranking if there was no holdout news.
So let's
you would
talk
easily
about
be
that.
Top. Well, where would you have him?
None of us think he's actually going to. Once we hear the news that he is going to be safe, is going to start the season, and not going to miss 5 or 6 games, he would be my RB4 above Kamara, which would be higher than either of you guys.
Yeah, so, he's slotted for me exactly where he is if nothing changes between now and August.
Agreed.
Like he's gonna be the RB5 for me between now and August. If we go, guess what? They're giving him a contract extension. He's coming back, or they're going to play hardball, and he's going to be forced to basically come back anyways. Because
at what point of no contract does he start to fall in your rankings?
Like mid-July, mid to late July.
Like no contract talk at all for me.
Well, no, just no contract existing. There's still.
I still think he comes back. I think it's
okay. So win then week 1.
Yeah, it's
when does he fall?
It's a
check back on the site the day before the season starts, and John.
I think Melvin Gordon has shown otherwise, John. You can't trust these running backs anymore.
I don't think that Dalvin Cook is going to look at what Melvin Gordon did last year and went, "Wow, that was really beneficial and great advice. I should do the same thing."
He got a contract.
A cheap ass contract, not remotely close. It is.
He got starter money.
16.
He got starter money.
2 years, 16, right? 8 per year. You think Dalvin Cook isn't worth more than 8 a year?
No, he definitely is.
You don't think he's worth 12?
I think he's worth 4. Well, I think in the market he's worth 14. I wouldn't pay him 14 because I'm not going to pay any running back that, except maybe Christian McCaffrey. But in the current running back market, he should be top 3.
Agreed.
But they're not necessarily going to give him that money. And if they don't and he wants it, he might try to do what either Le'Veon Bell did, who then got the money he wanted, by the way, even though he didn't make up for that year, or what Melvin Gordon did, who then got decent money and is on a new team with a new contract.
Oh, congratulations.
Horrible Chargers.
Melvin Gordon, congratulations on getting paid RB2 money to go into a timeshare in Denver. You think that's what Dalvin Cook is after right now?
No, I know what Dalvin Cook is after is top dollar, and the Vikings aren't willing to pay it. That's
and if they're not going to pay it up front, he knows that Alexander Madison is sitting right behind him. Hold on, just 2 more seconds. He knows that Alexander Madison is sitting right behind him, waiting for an opportunity to come in and take his job. If
Alexander Madison is far less scary than Austin Eckler.
I don't know about that. I think Madison's a good running back.
No. Eckler is a much better weapon than Alexander Madison.
He's a great
All right, moving on. We have now lost all listeners because of YouTube bozos. Listen, the conversation is simple. If Dalvin Cook's in camp, he's going up to 4 for Okada. He's still going to be 5 for John and I. He's an elite running back in fantasy. End of discussion. We'll see what happens. Next running back on the list, we have another disagreement. Okada and I are smart, and we have Joe Mixon at 6 and 7, respectively. John is a hater and has Joe Mixon at 12. John, explain yourself.
Are you nuts? Remember that segment? That was a fun day.
That was fun.
Joe Mixon for me has shown too much inconsistency in the usage and the way that they want to use him. It's in an offense that I don't trust with a rookie quarterback, a bad offensive line, in a division with a lot of really good defenses. I think that Joe Mixon is incredibly talented. I think he's a very good running back. I'm not speaking to if I like him as a person, but as a running back, he's a very talented running back. If he was in a better situation, he has absolutely top 5 ability in this league. There's all kinds of different video clips of him creating yards out of absolutely nothing. I get it. I'm that's fine. You guys were asking whether or not to drop him in the middle of last season. Should he be dropped straight up? Because through the first half of the season last year, he was like RB 40 plus. Like he was absolute garbage because they didn't use him. Not good. He was killing you last season. And then in the second half of the season, they went, oh, maybe we should give him the ball a little bit more. And they decided to give him the ball a little bit more. And it worked out really, really well. And he was very strong down the back half. I get that. That's why he's still ranked as an RB1 for me. I'm not saying he's
Barely.
RB28. Yeah, barely. Absolutely. I can make arguments for all the other guys that I feel much more confident about. You have a quarterback coming in, a rookie quarterback coming into camp that is not going to have the normal offseason program that we're used to seeing. A bad offensive line, great defenses in that division. This offense, to me, could absolutely be bottom 3 in the NFL. Like, this offense could suck. This could be what the Steelers looked like last year with Mason Rudolph and the dented head back there.
No, dude, don't even try to put Joe Burrow and Mason Rudolph in the same conversation, in this offseason.
Here's the thing. No, I get it. Joe Burrow is much more talented than Mason Rudolph. I'm not. Oh, son of a. Sorry about that.
John's camera just turned off.
Hello. Dear, hello. You can still see the lovely little avatar there. I can fix that while I'm talking. So for me, this is a situation where, yeah, obviously Joe Burrow is a much, much more talented quarterback. I like him a ton as a prospect. Still, though, expecting a rookie quarterback to come in and be the savior for an offense in the rookie season is tough. It's a tough order. That's a lot to ask of someone. So I just don't see it. I don't see the ceiling that you guys are seeing there. I still have him ranked as an RB1. I don't know why that's so terrible, but to rank him in the middle of the pack, to me, I just don't get it. I'm not in there. I'm going to leave the studio and come right back. So give me a second.
Okay. No worries. I love the fact that we were just talking to John and his his little floating head on the screen was fantastic. I was laughing the entire time. If you're on YouTube, you saw that. Okay, I'll get rid of the overlay here so we can. Oh no, he's back. John's back. There he is. Oh. Okada, do you want this one or you want me to take it?
Well, I will say this because you might have a more vehement argument. So I'll bridge the middle ground and then you can take the other side because I actually don't have too much of a gap between Mixon and my next 5 guys, pretty much. Yeah, which is also a good burger place, by the way.
Totally.
I like a lot of these running backs in a single tier, pretty much the same, and it almost drops down to where John's ranking for Mixon is. So in that sense, like I don't utterly hate it at all. I do have him ranked higher, and I think that the team that he's been on the last 2 years has been so doo-doo.
It's still going to be.
Saying that they're going to be, he's going to be on a horrible team this year. He's been on a horrible team and has been producing high-end RB2, low-end RB1 numbers on that horrible team. They were literally the worst team in the NFL last year. They're probably not going to be this year.
Yeah, I mean, I get the concerns with the usage. Like, it was just like every person watching football was like, why is he not getting the ball? They don't have playmakers. They don't have AJ Green. You know, the line was struggling. Andy Dalton was struggling. Like, give him the ball. But when they did, and maybe they look at that and they say, that's what we're going to do this year. I mean, the dude was unreal. After the bye week, running back 9, 24, 15, 3, 12. He got sick. So he was the running back 32 in Miami in week 16. That killed you in championship week, but he was sick. Then running back 3 against Cleveland. So if he gets the ball, it's going to work. And now you have Joe Burrow, who, yes, he's a rookie. Yes, the offseason's weird. I totally agree with that. But, I mean, Andy Dalton wasn't lighting the world on fire last year, and they didn't have AJ Green on the field at all. I'm not saying AJ Green's going to be a huge fantasy asset, but he at least garners attention from a defense. And so I think the offense in general can't get worse, and we've seen what he can do in a bad offense. So that's why I've got him there at 7, but I agree with Okada. Like the 7 to 12 running backs are all very, very close for me.
Also, one other thing I'll throw in on Mixon, he had 45 targets last year. He should have 45 catches in a year. He is an extremely talented pass-catching running back. So I expect them to be able to figure that out to some degree. Maybe having a rookie quarterback who just targeted the living daylights out of Clyde Edwards-Helaire in college will be a good part of that.
True.
He should have a lot more action in the receiving game based off his talent and skill set. So that could help him bump up a little bit.
I like it. On to running back 9 consensus here is Josh Jacobs. Second-year running back who I think, we all like. We all like the talent. We all think he's very good. Okada has him at 8. I've got him at 11. John's got him at 10. I'll just be real quick with my analysis. This is Derrick Henry light, basically. If he catches the football, he deserves to be in the top 6. He's very, very good at catching the ball. He did it in college a ton, but the Raiders, for whatever reason, are adamant about giving DeAndre Washington, who is not with the team anymore, but had more targets than Josh Jacobs. They take Lynn Bowden Jr., and they've said he is a running back. He is going to play running back for us, and he is a pass-catching athlete. And they still have Jalen Richard. So I'll believe it when I see it, and that's why I have him at 11. But if he was catching the football, he'd be at running back 6 or 7 for me.
Yeah, I think I'm buying in on Jacobs in a similar way that I'm buying in on Mixon. He's my RB8, so pretty much around here. But I believe that the talent will win out for these guys and that their coaches are going to have to recognize it. Like I said about Derrick Henry, he should get pass-catching work because it's effective, because we've seen what happens when he gets targets.
Derrick Henry in a bubble screen is just freaking lethal. He's a freight train running downhill. Yeah,
exactly. And the corners out there are not going to tackle him.
No. But business choices.
Yes, but I said that based off what we've seen occur when they target him. On these two guys, I'm basing it off of how I know they are talented at catching the ball and should be high-end 60, 70, 80 target type guys who can dominate in the receiving game. So I'm projecting, let's say, for Jacobs and Mixon, higher-end pass-catching volume that will translate to high-end RB1 production.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Betz on this one. I mean, I've got him at the 10, below a couple other guys that one of them is just more of a prodigal running talent. The other one I think will get the passing usage, and that's basically the difference for why he's 10 instead of 8. But Josh Jacobs is incredibly talented. He's a really good running back. Oh, and he played through a nasty shoulder for like half the season last year, whatever it was. And I'm sure Betz can speak to that a little bit more if he wants to. And he's just gritty. Like that's an injury I feel like that a lot of guys wouldn't have played. And Josh Jacobs as a rookie was like, yeah, no, I'm good. Like just strap it up and let's just get to work. And I love that about him. Like I love that hard-nosed mentality in a running back. You're not going to see this guy miss time very often, which is nice. He's okay playing banged up. I agree. The inexplicable lack of usage in the passing game is the only thing that's holding Josh Jacobs down. It just doesn't make any sense. Like it's kind of like last year when David Montgomery wasn't getting the carries when your quarterback is Mitch Trubisky. It's like, give him the ball. give him the ball. Like with Josh Jacobs, it's the same thing. It's like throw it to Jake. Just throw it to Jacobs. Give him the ball. It doesn't make sense from an outsider perspective. The Lynn Bowden Jr.'s draft was a very interesting choice. It was almost like they were trying to place DeAndre Washington a little bit in that regard, which I didn't love, even though they're all saying, yes, we understand that Josh Jacobs needs to be involved in the passing game, and we're really excited to do it.
Sure.
Yeah. We'll believe it when we see it. But that's basically how it is. Like, okay, if he ends up getting 6 targets in a game in the first couple of weeks, all right, cool. We might have something here. But if not, it's just like, okay, he's going to be similar to Derrick Henry, where it's going to be all dependent upon what he does in the rushing game. And I would love to see him get that usage in the passing game like Okada's talking about. He did show it in college. He is talented at it. Give him the ball.
Quick note before we move on to running back 10. I have a proposition for the world. Every year, fantasy analysts, yes, the world, the NFL specifically, every year fantasy analysts rage about how dumb NFL coaches are. Why are you not doing this thing? We could run these teams better. And then, of course, the real NFL people say, you have no idea what you're talking about, you stupid fantasy experts. You don't know how to run a football team. We know what we're doing. I propose that the last place team that fires their coach has to hire a bevy of fantasy analysts to be the head coach for the following season. Let's just see how it goes for 1 year. What do you have to lose? You're already a terrible team.
I love it. Can you imagine the three of us with the headsets on? And oh my god!
Yes, let's do it.
Spider 2 wide banana on 3.
Facts.
Every play, Spider 2 wide banana. It's perfect. It was actually really funny when everything was taking place leading up to the NFL draft, which is right when coronavirus was kind of becoming a thing, and they were all trying to figure out what this is going to look like and what are we going to do about it. And it's, became apparent that everyone's going to be drafting remotely. It's like, that's literally what us fantasy people do, is draft remotely. It was like every team should have hired a fantasy football person to come in and just be like, this is like, I would navigate it like this, like not making their choices for them. But I feel like a fantasy.
Here's how you do your rankings.
Here's your chat room.
Because Jerry Jones had no idea how all that stuff worked.
No, he just told everyone, just leave me alone.
Yep.
I'm just taking CeeDee Lamb and that's it.
Oh, CeeDee Lamb at 16 or 17.
Dang. CeeDee Lamb coming to Texas. Like, it was perfect. But yeah.
Freaking great. All right, boys. On to running back number, where are we at? 10. Aaron Jones. Guys, last year was a revelation. A complete steal in fantasy drafts. I think he went like in the 3rd or 4th round. Like, huge steal. Finished as RB2. Touchdown monster. I've got him at 13, so I'm definitely lower than you two. And John's got him at 8 and 9. And we've had this conversation before, so I don't know that we need to go into a lot of detail. But, for me, it's just all about potential regression. I don't love what the offense is. Cramming up your cram hole LaFleur. We have to get it in the show.
I need a shirt. I need a shirt that says that. Can we work on that for our merchandising that we're talking about?
Yeah,
make note of that. We need a LaFleur shirt in our line.
Yeah, and listen, like I think we've talked about it. Aaron Jones is going to still be very good for fantasy. Will he be fantastic and elite? Probably not, especially considering the AJ Dillon selection. The fact that I think the offense in general isn't going to be as good as it was last year. So that's why I've got him at 13. My projections have him coming in at 11. So I ranked him a little bit lower just because of some small risk. But, I could easily see myself by the time August gets here being like, you know what? Aaron Jones is just too good. He's going to produce no matter what, and moving him into my RB1 ranks. But that's why I've got him at 13.
Yeah, we talked about this guy a bit back on the quarterbacks episode. We talked about Aaron Rodgers because we got sidetracked on Aaron Jones. And you guys need to acknowledge the touchdown regression and move him down from running back 3, where we finished last year, to around running back 8 or 9, which is where he belongs. However, you should not do what my so-called expert analyst co-host over here, Matthew Betz, has done, and move him down to RB13. Do you know how many touchdowns he would have to lose to drop from RB3 to RB13 last year? I will tell you the number.
70%. I think it's 70%.
14.8 touchdowns. He's not losing 14.8 touchdowns, Betz. Get out of my face.
How many? What did he have all-purpose? 20.
You're also assuming the same exact production, the same exact number of carries,
I'm just saying,
same exact
there's
number
no reason to really
targets.
expect any of that to change.
Why? They drafted AJ Dillon in the second round.
Mike McCarthy is out of there, and Mike McCarthy hurts running back, so you have to put the same flip side argument onto this.
Yeah, but they drafted AJ Dillon in the second round to come in.
They also drafted Jordan Love to replace Aaron Rodgers. They're just idiots. I don't know what to tell you about.
Sorry to all the Packers fans out there.
Yeah, got him.
I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, you have to. It's obviously about the statistical regression of what you think is going to happen. So in my projections, I have him getting 8 rushing touchdowns. But
how many total?
12.
You probably only give. Yeah, I was going to say 11. That's too low.
RB13 with 12 touchdowns. How do you even manage that?
Again,
or are you banking extra
11,
risk?
But I'm risk because there's a scenario where I'm still not convinced Matt LaFleur is a good coach. Like, he could be like, Aaron Jones, you did fantastic. We're inside the 10. Good job, buddy. Grab some pine. Come on in, AJ Dillon. Carry this ball for 4 yards and score a touchdown. It could happen. I'm just saying, like, that's in the range of outcomes. I don't trust Matt LaFleur.
You mean the guy who took his team to a 13-3 record in the NFC Championship in his first year as head coach?
The guy who ignored one of the best running backs in football for years in Tennessee? Not years, a year in Tennessee? I don't know. That's why I'm having the 13.
Years. That's 8 years.
18 years.
All right.
Who's running back
running back 11.
My turn. You're wrong. Like,
okay,
wrong. Big wrong. Big time wrong. Here's the thing.
We
Aaron
have
Jones.
on this, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Do we? What was it? Do you remember offhand?
I do not.
I think it. No, I'd have to look it up. I think it was like running back finish like 11.5 or 10.5, something like that.
Easy money. So Aaron Jones is the wide receiver 2 for the Green Bay Packers. Also true. So congratulations, you have thick freakness in your backfield now. Hashtag thick freakness. 3 C's, by the way.
No,
in case you're wondering
that fell so flat.
No.
Lost that a long time ago, John.
No. Thick freakness is still a thing. That's absolutely.
Pretty sure you were rejected on the live stream, the giant live stream.
I was
Multiple
not. It was a very close. It was a very close race in that conversation. I think I had Cynthia Freeland's vote, which makes me happy.
That's true. I believe that's true.
Yep. So, anyways, you bring him in, they're going to learn really quickly that this guy is just not the dude. Like, congratulations, he's big, and that's why you drafted him, because you think he's Derrick Henry. He's not Derrick Henry. Not even remotely close. Aaron Jones is arguably, in my opinion, a top 5 talent at the running back position. I think that Aaron Jones is incredibly talented.
Aaron Jones or Dalvin Cook?
Talent?
Pure talent. Yeah, pure talent.
I'll give it to Dalvin.
Okay,
Dalvin. To me, it'd be like Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel. Oh, maybe I have to go 6 because Zeke, Kamara, and Dalvin Cook, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think as a runner, Aaron Jones is better than Kamara. So that's an interesting conversation. But I feel like the two of them are actually very similar. If they were used similarly, we'd be talking about them like exactly the same. Like I feel like Aaron Jones and Alvin Kamara both have very similar skill sets. Aaron Jones is much better downhill up the middle. He's a great up the middle runner, and that offensive line supports it. So to me, Aaron Jones is going to get heavily utilized in the passing game because they just don't have anyone else besides Devontae. So like I think that Aaron Jones to me, the receiving work, we've been talking about that over these last few running backs, and we're hoping that they get this, and we're hoping that they get that. It's like screw that. In my opinion, Aaron Jones should probably have the 4th most receptions of any of the top 12 running backs. Like, I think that he's going to be incredibly heavily utilized in that way. And he gets targeted a ton in the red zone. So, yes, there might be times where they turn around and want to go A.J. Dillon for a thumper from 1 yard out, maybe. But if they're 8, 10, 12, 14 yards away from the goal line, those play calls, that play design, getting Aaron Jones the ball in space on a pass is what they love to do. They did it a ton last year. I loved him waving at the Dallas defender at the goal line, the game when he scored 3 touchdowns, or was it 4? I can't remember.
Either way,
so it was just an amazing game, amazing moment. Just by Aaron Jones is a stud. Yes, he's going to regress touchdown wise. I still think him being at 12 to 14 all-purpose touchdowns is incredibly possible, and him finishing as a mid-range RB1 should be expected.
All righty. On to number 11, and I'm kind of surprised. John and I both have Nick Chubb ranked at the same spot, and we've talked about this backfield a lot, and I have been, I guess, in our discussions, I've been the highest on Nick Chubb, but John and I both have him at 9. Okada has him down at 12. You guys know how I feel about Nick Chubb. John, I'm going to kick back to you, man. What are your thoughts here with the 9 ranking?
To me, Nick Chubb was, and we've talked about Nick Chubb. This was the toughest of the back-end RB1s for me to put a number on, because he's an absolute stud as a runner. He's incredibly talented.
Very good.
I love him as a pure runner. I think he's top 5. Like Aaron Jones, all around skill set, yes. Pure runner, Nick Chubb is an incredibly talented runner. He's really, really good. So, and obviously we saw it last year, and the fantasy production was there, and he finished as, let's see, where was he? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He was RB8 last year on the season, and not far behind the guys that were in front of him. So he's incredibly talented. I'm really concerned about that backfield split with Kareem Hunt in the fold. We saw it for the last half of the season when Hunt was back. It really ate in, especially into the targets for Chubb, and that's really concerning. But to me, I do think that he's a very, very talented back. And I think that what he's going to do on the ground and what he's going to do from a touchdown standpoint could keep him here as, in my opinion, a low-end running back 1. I do have some very real concerns where I feel like it's possible that he finishes outside the top 12 to 14. I think that could happen. Depending on how they use Kareem Hunt. But for now, and this is still early, it's June 23rd. It's my birthday. It's still very early. I could slide Chubb down.
I can do whatever I want.
I can do whatever I want.
Birthday.
But I could potentially see myself sliding Chubb down a little bit. But I think the rushing totals are going to give him a safer floor. So it was tough. I could have ranked him anywhere as low as 12. But I decided to slot him in here because I think that rushing upside, that floor of, like, in my opinion, he's a 1,200 yard rusher. Like, that's what Chubb is.
Yep.
And I think that helps keep his ability right there as a low end back third of the running back 1 range.
John, you got to do one thing for me, okay?
What?
Take a sip of your whiskey, find a mirror, look in it, and say, what the hell am I doing? Because you made a bet live on the show with Derrick Brown and myself that was the running back 12.5, and you and Okada screwed over, and you ranked him at 9. Dude,
I'm still
you gotta
there.
Pick which one of these the fence you're on, man. You got to pick a side.
No, I'm still like, his floor is like, I still like that bet. I'm fine with it. But to me, this was like, it's still early. It's June. I need to give a little bit more thought to the people that are behind him. Leonard Fournette, Miles Sanders, hell, potentially Jonathan Taylor. We'll see.
Get out of here!
No,
could potentially fit with it. So,
Dude.
Todd Gurley. I mean, there's other running backs that are there that I think could potentially challenge him if the backfield split goes really sour. So, in my opinion, that's the only thing is the backfield split. If he's going to come out there and he's going to control the backfield for 70% of the time, then yeah, he could absolutely still finish as a high-end RB1. So that's going to be the driving factor. Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that Kareem Hunt's too talented. I feel like he's going to be involved. I think he's going to steal the passing work. So it's very challenging. This is the hardest rank for me of this top tier running backs for where to put. I still stand by my bets that RB 12.5. I think he's going to finish lower than that.
All right. Well, your rankings say otherwise. Just saying.
Also, in my defense on my ranking, which does have him at 12, Dalvin Cook is at 13. So when Dalvin Cook signs, he will move in and Chubb will move out. So he will be outside of 12.5. Also, in case you guys didn't listen to the previous episodes where we talked about Nick Chubb, you should go back and find them. But very brief summary. Yes, he was the RB8 last year, but he was the RB 23 after Kareem Hunt came back. It is a huge, huge pain in Nick Chubb's buttocks.
Fine, I just moved Chubb to 14.
Oh!
Live rankings adjustment. That was episode 144, by the way, for listeners. We talked about offenses to target with Derrick Brown. Listen to it.
Nick Chubb. I agree with John's point that Nick Chubb is arguably a top 5 pure running back in the NFL. However, if you ask me who's the better overall running back, I legitimately would lean towards Kareem Hunt. He is that good.
Kareem Hunt's so good, dude.
I'll summarize with this, and then we can move on. I don't hate Nick Chubb. Right now, he's just in my RB1 territory and will be probably RB13 when Cook comes back, which is a very good ranking, and you should draft him, except psych! He's going as the RB8. There's no question in my mind that he's the worst value in the first 2 rounds right now. I am not drafting him anywhere until that ADP falls because people get it through their heads that Kareem Hunt is good.
Yep.
All right, we can go to RB12 now.
All right, I talked myself out of it. Okay.
Excellent.
I think we talked you out of it, but
no.
Sure.
Austin Eckler comes in at 12. The last running back we'll talk about tonight. We have this perfectly in order. Okada's at 10. John's at 11. I'm at 12. We're kind of all in the same range with this guy. I think the ceiling is higher than our ranking. I think we can all agree on that. But there's major concern about, is he going to catch as many footballs as he did last year? I say probably not. And that's why I've got him at 12.
Honestly, it's worth asking why Eckler is not higher in any of our rankings. Because
Phillip Rivers isn't standing there literally handing the ball off 1 yard down the field.
That's true.
That's why for me.
There is a chance he loses some receiving work, but he was also not as productive when Melvin Gordon came back, and Melvin Gordon is now gone, and all there is a rookie Josh Kelly there, and potentially Justin Jackson, who clearly could not beat Austin Eckler out for the work when he had the chance to.
Right.
So there's a very good chance those balance out, and he finishes much higher than this. I think, to your point, his ceiling is quite a bit higher than our ranking, and I might try to get him up a little bit. I don't really know if I can. Like, Jacobs and Mixon, they're a little bit above him, and Aaron Jones. They're all kinds of similar players that I think probably have higher rushing floors and better. They're not even better offenses. Actually, they're kind of all the same. They're all in a similar place. Again, I said it like half an hour ago. RB 6 through 12 are all the same thing. So there you go.
Yes,
that's why I have Austin Eckler here.
Yeah, to me, it's because Austin Eckler is a receiver. He's not a running back.
How dare you, sir?
He is listen, he's a better running back than Tariq Cohen. He's a better running back than Naheem Hines. He's a good running back. He's fine.
Congratulations, Austin Eckler.
Yeah, congratulations. No, I like Austin Eckler so much, the person. Undrafted free agent, carved out his role, waited his chance. Melvin Gordon made a stupid decision, and he freaking took over, and he was fantastic.
Yes, he did.
Because of his passing work. His rushing work was not all that amazing. It really wasn't. The stats aren't there for it. You're looking at Austin Eckler last year, who, by the way, finished as the RB3. So we're talking about ceiling. His ceiling's there. His ceiling is a top 5 PPR running back. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Like, that could absolutely be the case. But if you're looking at what he did on the season, like rushing totals, week, 5 through 8. You want to know how many yards he had each game? 7, 14, 7, 3.
Not great.
He's
Solid.
used as a receiver. Yeah, super stoked. We're hyped on that. He was used as a receiver, and he was a great threat that way. And when he gets the ball into his hands in space, he makes people miss, and he does a great job. But it's not because of his rushing ability. Like, he had a couple games where he broke a super long run, and it made his rushing stats look a lot better than they were. But most of the time, his work is in the passing game. PPR, he's great. He's good. He was last year. I'm concerned that takes a pretty big step back with a new quarterback under center, because it's not Phillip Rivers anymore. I still believe in Austin Eckler, the talent, and he's the guy now without Melvin Gordon in the picture. So that target share is going to still be there. His usage is still going to be there. His, all-around presence in the red zone is probably still going to be there. So I like him still. His ceiling is super, super, super high if everything goes right. His floor is also super, super, super low if things don't go right. So Austin Eckler is kind of a concerning back-end RB1 for me.
I would agree with that. Fellas, what a show. What a birthday show for John. Top 12 running back rankings. Hopefully,
hey, by the way, where do you guys have
Go
Jonathan Taylor?
Oh, we're going to talk about it. Don't spoil it. Because we're going to talk about that on the next show. We're talking about running backs 12 or 13, I guess, to 24. So
I have him the lowest, if that
spoil
helps.
it. He's in the top 24 for all of us. So we'll talk about it on the next show. Listeners, subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe in your podcast app to listen to that show, because I guarantee you we're going to talk a lot about Jonathan Taylor on that show. Also, don't forget, wish John a happy birthday on Twitter at DynastyBeard. Okada is at Matt Okada. I am at TheFantasyPT. Follow the show at RedShirtsFFPod. Until next time, we are the Red Shirts.